Back in, my guest for this hour, criminal defense attorney and former assistant state attorney, Tamara Walker. Tamara, I want to begin with this idea, and Julia mentioned this yesterday, that a lot of the evidence that this jury, this federal jury is hearing is very similar to what they heard, the state jury heard in the Chauvin trial, minus some of the emotion, a little more austere in the federal courtroom. Do you think this case in the federal court is going to be harder to prove than the case was in state court?
You know, that's a very interesting question. Here's my take on it. I think that this case is immensely important for a number of reasons for this country, for us to start to heal, for people to understand that police officers take an oath, they swear to serve and protect, and that's what they need to do. And I think that by bringing this trial, particularly to bring it federally, illustrates the importance that you can't just stand by while a fellow officer does whatever they choose. You have to take responsibility because you will be held accountable. I know that federal juries are often more difficult because of the demographic and the composition sometimes, but that's an excuse. What happened here is very clear, and the officers should be held accountable no matter the jurisdiction.
You know, what's interesting in federal court, and I couldn't agree with you more with everything you said, but there's also this willful component. Okay, so they violated George Floyd's civil rights, but they had to have done it deliberately or willfully. And I think a big part of the testimony that we heard about today, and talking about from the bystanders and what they were able to see and what's saying to the officers, all that plays into that. But do you think that is going to be a tough hurdle for the feds?
You know, I think that that's probably a hurdle. I don't know about how tough it will be. Obviously, it all goes back to how the evidence is presented. Here you have, well, the one officer, Lane, who I agree with you is in a slightly different boat than the other officers. He tried. Did he try enough? That's going to be the question. In my mind, no, he did not. Here's why. There's a chain of command. All of these officers were equipped with radio communication in their car they could have used. In this day and age, with the technology we have, they could have cell phone called their higher up to make someone aware of what's going on. I mean, you have to look at the fact that this was almost 10 minutes. It is completely unacceptable. And I hope that the jury does send a message with this verdict, and hopefully that hurdle will be nothing more than something in the rearview mirror.
Yeah, you know, and I agree. I think Lane is definitely situated differently, but I think he's just as guilty, because I agree with you. The message of this trial is you have to do something, you know, and I think the prosecution even used Lane's words against him. He said, you know, you made a reference to the fact that you wanted to do something, turn him over, but then you still did nothing. Still did nothing. And so ultimately it may play out in the sentencing aspect in terms of the proportionality of their guilt. But I think I agree with you, they're all guilty. All right, Tamara, stand by. We're going to take a break. Coming up next.